Hello everyone, welcome back to Crown My Run. We are just a day after I ran the Beachy Head 10k in 45 minutes and 12 seconds. We're back for the Beachy Head Half Marathon. We're not going all out ourselves. We are here to pace our friends to a sub 2, but have a little look at the elevation change here. It's still going to be tough just a day after running that 10k for me to run this sub 2. It's not going to be a walk in the park by any means, but we are here to pace my friend Pepe as best I can. He's only been running for 6 months, so if we can get him a sub 2, it will be a fantastic day out. The weather could not be more perfect. After 2 races that I've had called off in the last 2 months, the weather gods have decided, all right, well, you can have a good one today. So let's go and see what we can do. The race is underway. We're starting a little way back here just to make sure the quicker runners can get out first, away from the congestion, but we will be going over that line very shortly. There we go now. You can see the lovely friendly hill that we've got to go up again. The stats come on screen now. Pace at the top left, elevation on the right, and the distance down the bottom left. For reference, the average pace we need is 5 minutes and 41 seconds to go sub 2. So we will keep a running total each kilometre of how close we are to that. As we arrive at a bit of a bottleneck here, but that's absolutely fine because we just do not want to spike our heart rate at all up this hill. It's important in the 10k not to spike it. In the half, just get to the top with your heart rate. I didn't want Pepe's heart rate to get anywhere near 160. That was my aim for this first 1 kilometre, which goes up about 100 metres to 150 metres. It then gradually goes up to about 200 before coming down.
Yeah, not as many stairs.
After learning from yesterday, I advised that we go left rather than right to avoid so many stairs on the right, as you saw me going down every single one yesterday, and it was still rather slippery here, and we are just walking up, really. Such a long way to go. Being sensible was the name of the game. Trudging up, it's 10 flat a kilometre. We are all the way over to the left, away from the main pack, being able to go at our own pace. I'll just take the lead here to make sure he doesn't do anything silly.
There's a long way to go.
What wonderful advice. The gradient gradually easing down to 10% as our speed gradually climbs into the 6s now. And going any speed up an elevation like this is going to spike that heart rate somewhat. So I'm in the mid 150s. I know that Pepe will be at least that, or if not slightly higher. So this is the speed we are going to go at for the next 500 metres. And we have now reached 100 metres above sea level, and we're still going up.
What's your heart rate? Your heart rate's quite low. That's quite high for you. But you'll thank me later.
So I made the decision to walk because 160 heart rate for him is quite a lot. His maximum heart rate's generally only mid to late 170s compared to mine that goes into the 190s. So he was saying he felt fine, but as I said, he'll thank me later. Just a little walk. Everyone's coming through. We'll get going again in a second.
Right, it'll be...
My heart rate down to mid 140s again, so let's get going. We pick things back up at 800 metres. We have rounded the top of the worst part of the ascent, and now it's generally undulating up and down for the next 6 or 7k or so before a very good, solid downhill until around 14k. And we're getting going. We're back in the mid 5s at the moment, but obviously we'll have lost quite a bit of time compared to that 5:41 that we need in that first kilometre, but that's okay. There's a long, long way to go, and we'll see exactly what that is soon. Or straight away, in fact. There's the first kilometre split, a 7 minutes 32, so almost 2 minutes lost on the 5:41 average that we need, but it was 92 metres uphill. That's the biggest kilometre up elevation-wise throughout the route. There's some pretty nasty ones at the end again, but nothing quite that big. Plenty of time to make some of that time back up on the downhills, and hopefully, due to us being super sensible and walking up part of that first hill, we will have enough left at the end to push it some to really get that time back. We've gone through 2 kilometres now, and we're still climbing. The second kilometre, a 5 minutes and 52 seconds, so we've lost another 11 seconds. It was 12 metres up still. We are about to enjoy a bit of a downhill stretch, but as I said earlier, the next 7k are very much up and down. There's not many that are all up or all down, so we'll just have to see where we are at 8 kilometres. But I believe most of the rest of this third kilometre is downhill, so we'll see if we can make a bit of time up now as we start start to head into the mid-5s and some 4s for good measure. And things have leveled out as we go through Eastbourne Downs golf course now. I can see my heart rate's come down to the 130s. Very much enjoyed that downhill bit, and we're going 5:10 per kilometre on the flat here as we skip to just after 4 kilometres, getting the money shot of Eastbourne down from the top of the Downs. Beautiful stuff. Let's have a little look at that 3rd and 4th kilometre splits though. There we go. 5:22 for the 3rd, 3 metres net up, and 5:30 for that 4th kilometres, net 11 metres up. Clawing ourselves back 30 seconds on that 2-hour pace. And we've already moved on to the 5th kilometre here. 5:44, so losing 3 seconds, but it was 13 metres up. And in the 6th kilometre now, we have actually just reached the top of the course. This is the highest elevation we will get to, 197 metres above sea level. There's still some undulations to go before the big downhill, but we will not be getting any higher than where we currently are. And at least for the next 500 metres, we can enjoy a very pleasant little downhill stretch. Pepe leading the way here as he dips into the high 4s, which I will allow for now as it's a pretty steep gradient, 6% down. And we have now skipped forward to 7.7k, and here we are at the start of the pretty much full downhill stretch for the next 7 kilometres all the way to Berlin Gap. But let's have a little look how we fared in that 6th and 7th kilometre. So while it was still undulating, 6th kilometre 5:33 and the 7th kilometre a 5:47. So we have managed to gain back 2 seconds, bringing that time down on the 2 hours to 89 seconds.
Your heart rate stay the same, or is it going down?
So I just asked what his heart rate was at, and he responded telling me in the mid 150s, which I was really happy about, as coming down here 450 per kilometre. If you've overdone it, even on the downhills, your heart rate will gradually increase or just stay quite high, but it was coming down like mine was. You can see I was at 138, he was in the mid 150s, and we could now think about just trying to start clawing back as much of that time as we can without going too silly, as some people are flying past here. There's still a quite horrific final 6 or 7 kilometres to go right at the end, so we've got to keep some back for that. But it's still important we do make sure that probably we need to be up on the 2-hour pace by the time we start hitting the hills at the end, but we'll do it as gradually as we can. And there's a nice and rewarding 8th kilometre, 5 minutes and 6 seconds. It was 25 metres down, so we've gained ourselves back 35 seconds. And we are now less than a minute behind our 2-hour goal. And I'll tell you what an absolute treat it was to be running up here on this day. I don't know how many days, especially in October, are going to be this calm with perfect blue skies, 50k visibility all the way round. Absolutely sensational conditions. And look at the pace, 5 flat per kilometre. We are eating up the time. Turning right now as we begin to get a little bit closer to Friston. And it was a beauty of a 9th kilometre from the boys. 4 minutes 58, 19 metres down, and we had got back 43 seconds, and we're now only 11 seconds down. And we still have around 100 metres to travel downhill before we have to go back up again. We found ourselves on a very narrow path now as we headed towards Friston, and I was quite happy with that because I could feel Pepe on my heels trying to go a little bit quicker, and we didn't need to be going any quicker than this. This was absolutely spot on. Everyone in this group, I feel, was on that sub-2 hype train. And as we come towards the end of this 10th kilometre, we have left the muddy fields and joined the picturesque village of Friston and can enjoy a nice bit of tarmac, which should be nice and quick. A little bit more difficult in trail shoes, but it still should be a nice opportunity to make up even more time.
5:40s to sub 2. 3D5s for like 5k. Getting ourselves like three minutes, haven't we?
Just having a little discussion on the pacing strategy there, where I was saying if he could stay at this speed until the bottom, we'd basically gain 3 minutes on the sub 2, as long as his heart rate was in check, which at the moment it was still in the 150s. So everything as we approach halfway, going pretty well.
Thanks, Marshall. Thank you, Marshall.
That 10th kilometre was a 5 minute and 1 second. It was 20 metres down, and we had gained 40 seconds. And for the first time, we were up on the 2-hour pace. However, it was actually the first time that I really clocked roughly what we were on for. We had gone through halfway now at 10.8 kilometres, around 30 seconds up, and I sort of thought we might be a little bit more like 2 or 3 minutes, because I think overall the second half might be slightly more tricky with more elevation up than the first half. or at least quite similar elevation-wise overall. We have to get back up to 160 metres above sea level from 10 metres versus getting to 198 from 40 or 50 metres. And obviously the second half of a race always going to be more difficult, so I had hoped we'd have a little bit more time in hand, but I was aware we had taken that first 5 kilometres fairly easy, so I was hoping that would pay dividends at the end. We shall have to see. And there we hit 11 kilometres and another really good solid kilometre. 5 minutes and 6 seconds, gaining 35 seconds. And that one was only 11 metres down. And we are now 1 minute up. In the middle of the 12 kilometre here, enjoying a nice stretch of really quite downhill running. 10% gradient down. This is a 50 metres downhill, this 12 kilometre. And I decided to make the most of that. And I did push the pace quite a bit. As I said, it was around when I was a little bit nervous that we were ever so slightly off. So I thought, right, we'll go for a good kilometre here before we get back on the grass. It shouldn't spike the heart rate too much, given the super downhill gradient, but we were going in the low 4s, which was maybe a little bit quick. Smile for the camera. Still falling away.
Thank you.
And as we came through here, this was where I decided to just ease back that pace, because we were going at 4:10 to 4:20 for quite a bit. Tarmac changed to being not quite as nice to run on, and as we were still on a nice downhill stretch, if we just ease that pace back, hopefully his heart rate could level off or start to come down again. And of course, I wasn't sure at the time exactly where the bottom was, so I wanted to leave myself a good stretch of downhill to get that heart rate in check. And I'll put that 12 kilometre up just before we get there. 4 minutes 38, gaining ourselves 63 seconds. And as long as I hadn't killed Pepe in that kilometre, it was a very useful one on our quest for sub 2. Halfway through the 13th kilometre now, we're going in the low 5s. I had recently checked in and his heart rate had spiked just to the end of the really downhill stretch to about 170, so that definitely was a little bit quick from me, but we'd managed to get it back in check, easing back into the low 160s, and we're getting towards the business end of things. And as we approach the hills, it's going to be in the 160s soon, maybe the 170s. The work is about to begin. And you can see in the distance, the fun is about to stop. People going up that hill.
You've probably got 3 minutes to play with. Maybe 4 if you can gain back some on the final downhill.
There's me telling Pepe that he's probably got 3 minutes to play with, or potentially 4 if he can get a minute back right at the end on the final downhill stretch. We'll see how true that is in a second when we hit this 13th kilometre split.
In this cave, should start almost perfectly when we go up.
And I'll put it up now. It's a 5 minute 2 seconds. It was 34 metres down, and we gained ourselves another 39 seconds, bringing that to 168 seconds up. So almost the 3 minutes that I told Pepe that we had. Pretty good in the field calculations, if I don't say so myself.
Going quick.
The little rascal had flown up the start of this hill. I didn't really have time to think to get ahead of him, and it wasn't easy to get on the side here. It was only really one way about going on a quite difficult to run on angle, and we're not far in, and it's already made a few people start walking. 16% gradient. Let's just hope he's not taking too much out of him. This is the first of, I think, 6 or 7 hills we've got to go through. Potentially more than that. I just know it's a lot of uphill until 20k, and then the final k's downhill. And I should have gone first. He's walking. As I get myself back in front of him for when we do get going again. Look at my heart rate. My heart rate's almost 170. This is an incredibly steep part. Will those 3 minutes be enough if it's like this for the rest of the way? Oh, all right. Okay, comes flying through again as we get to the top of this crest. Stops for a little drink, which we will allow. We do have time to play with, but as you can see, we're about to go downhill for a bit now, and then you can just see in the distance it's up and down, but mostly up all the way back to Beachy Head. But while our legs are still working, we can gain some time back down this hill. As he flies away from me, I will see you very shortly as we start another trudge back up. Or maybe I'll never see him again. See ya. Nah, he died again. There's a lot more downs in this kilometre than I was aware of, but that does mean that the ups are even steeper than I knew about. And the one coming up looks absolutely grotesque. Approaching it now, Let's see how this goes. I am not filled with much confidence that we're not going to lose a heap of time up here. I actually missed filming the worst part of it, but I took the lead after a good 20-30 second stretch of walking because I didn't want him to shoot off again once we got going again. Look, my heart rate's 170, so his must be that or slightly higher. It's getting hard now, and we will see how much time, how much damage has been done in a quite foul last kilometre stretch. And that 14th kilometre was a 6 minutes 45. It was 45 metres net up, despite quite a few downhill stretches, and we'd lost 64 seconds, and we're back having less than 2 minutes in hand. What was a nice, pleasant surprise was that this 15th kilometre was mostly downhill. Very steep downhill here, and then it does lead into a brief uphill part, but then it's downhill again.
We can keep moving up this one.
And I'm barking out instructions that I want us to keep moving up this one. I don't want any walking.
Thank you.
And of course, he pops up on the left for a little bit of action. He just can't help himself.
Spider web on your head there.
Hopefully a lucky charm. Having a little gander at the surroundings. Be rude not to. And let's see if we can get to the top of our first hill without a little walk. Looks like we're going to do it. We're almost there.
Good job, mate.
Things level off and we can enjoy the final 500 metres of this 15th kilometre downhill as the sun glistens over the horizon.
Thank you.
Enjoy that view. Skipping forward slightly now to the beginning of the 17th kilometre, and we have now started the long slog uphill towards Beachy Head. 4 kilometres of uphill now. Let's have a little look at those last 2 kilometres to see what time we have in hand still. So in that 15th kilometre, which was 50 metres net down, 5:19, gaining ourselves 22 seconds. And the 16th kilometre, which was coming back uphill now, 15 metres, we'd still gained a couple of seconds. And with the effort levels needed about to rise drastically, we at least had 127 seconds to play with, just over 2 minutes.
You're right, sat here.
I was a little bit concerned we were being just a touch held up here. It was uphill, but not massively. Our pace was a little bit slower than the goal. So I just checked in to see how he was doing, and he said he was fine with that.
We basically need a 30 flat 5k to get sub 2.
Letting him know that all we've got to do is a 30-minute 5k and the sub 2 dream will be realised. On flat ground, probably a fairly easy affair for him, but we are about to start heading up towards 150 metres, where we will truly see if we've got our pacing on point or not. And here we are at the scene of my death from yesterday. The 10k route cuts across the road the left and then joins up here with the same route that the half takes, as we start to head up Mount Doom. And before shit hits the fan, I'll put in what the 17th kilometre split was, 5:42, so just a cheeky little second lost, not too bad at all. Let's go get it, Pepe, my friend. I hope we can continue to blast past people. You join us midway through the 18th kilometre. We've just climbed up 40 metres. I'm looking around to check he's still with me. We can enjoy a brief bit of a downhill stretch. I'm looking increasingly worried that I've killed him, but we don't have hours to play with. We've got to put a bit of a shift on. If he flies past me now down here, we're all right. Let's pray. Come on, Pepe. Come through. He doesn't appear to be coming through. I'm taking it very, very steady down here. He's clearly hurting from that major 40 metres uphill in only around 200 or 300 metres. And he's trying to use this downhill stretch to get his heart rate back in check as we're about to head up another extremely steep part. The first part as well is so brutal. I walked the hell out of it yesterday in the middle of the 19th kilometre now, but look at what that 18th kilometre split was. A 6 minutes and 56. It was 61 metres up, but that is 75 seconds lost, and we are now less than a minute up on the 2 hour pace. We've still got 1.5 kilometres to climb. We've got to keep moving. Come on, my friend, let's not throw it away now. Those cheeky moves ahead of me are long gone. He's clinging onto my coattails for dear life, pleading for that downhill stretch.
Almost there.
Just letting him know we're so close. Just a smidge more passion is needed. We've only got another 20 metres to climb to the end of the horrific part. Getting one last look in at that gorgeous view. He had a little walk there and I told him, get yourself moving, buddy. We are right on the cusp of needing something pretty special in the end to get this done. And there it is, Beachy Head Pub appears. The worst of the climb is over. And look, he's back in front of us. That is such a good sign, but how much did we lose in that 19th kilometre? It's a 6 minute 20, 39 seconds lost. And we are down to just 13 seconds up. It couldn't be much closer. Will that 13 be unlucky for Pepe? We hope not, but look at the time at the top left he's going at now. 4:40 per kilometre. If he goes at that, he's going to be eating in the time. Of course, he only needs 5:41 still to do this sub 2. It's all downhill now. Have we absolutely hit this pacing right on the head? And all of our dreams are about to be realised. When I saw him just pushing his nose a little bit ahead of me 200 or 300 metres back, I thought, right, Mr. Pepe, I'm going to push this as much as I can. You're clearly not on your red line yet, and I'm going to take you there, my friend. Let's get every last second out of you, and I'm in the mid-430s, and he's still trying to come through. And we are beginning to catch people right behind them now as we look down into Eastbourne. We are so close to home now.
Keep pushing.
Come on, lad, keep on pushing. Let's have a look at that 20th kilometre. Oh, baby, it's a 4 minutes 51. We've gained 50 seconds, and we are now over a minute up on the sub 2. And we are steaming on, and oh, yeah, Blue Shorts is looking worried. The sub 2 hype train is steaming on. We are coming for you, my friend. Around here, he told me to go on without him. Yes, I'm going to run, pace you for 20k and just piss off now. No chance. Get your little bottom up with me. Blue Shorts knew I wanted his booty, but Pepe was not having it at the moment. He was just staying behind me. And there was nothing wrong with that. We were going at 4:37 per kilometre, way quicker than we needed to be going. But he was just so ready for the taking. Just checking he's still there. He was. And now there's just over 500 metres to go. The dangerously steep downhill section is approaching. The last obstacle in our way that could rid us of the sub 2. But here he is flashing past at the end. Me just behind. And can you spot the time on the side? I certainly could. Look at that happy face. A 1 hour, 57 and 21 seconds. We had blown that sub 2 out the water by over 2 minutes. Pepe had done so damn well. Couldn't have been more proud of him, and just what a day out. Honestly, I think it was my favourite run that I've ever done. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Thank you for people who've watched both the races over the Beachy Head weekend, the 10k and the half. We've got plenty more content coming soon to crown my run. I've got a park run that I've done today as I'm commentating now. Pretty hard effort to see where my fitness was ahead of, in 2 weeks, the Brighton 10k, where Damo will be taking part, and I believe a W Mills will be there as well. And so will Pepe. See you soon.